As our heroes face off against an unknown enemy having their backs pit up against the wall, is it possible by the very end, if Goku and Vegeta have run out of options, for there to be an introduction of fusion having to happen in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie? With Broly having to be the strongest enemy that both Goku and Vegeta have ever faced, is the concept of fusion bound to happen in the upcoming movie? On today's video, myself and members of the Dragon Ball community discuss the possibility of seeing Gogeta Blue be introduced in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie next. If you are new to this channel and enjoy what you see, then don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to receive new and daily content on your mobile devices, desktops, and services that I provide, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. With both Goku and Vegeta having their backs up against the wall against a new adversary known as Broly in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie, is the concept of fusion optional and logical if Goku and Vegeta have completely run out of reserves and having nothing left to offer other than the fact of using fusion in this upcoming movie? Joining me here today to tackle the subject of Gogeta Blue versus Broly in the upcoming movie is my good friend EmoshIsLive and Anti-Metaman. As guys, I wanted to introduce the concept in question of Broly having to face off against someone other than Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza in this film, and that other opponent having to be Gogeta, because as a hypothetical, if Goku and Vegeta have completely run out of options in terms of using their most powerful attacks against him, strategic attacks having to double team on him fails, is it possible for us to see the concept of Gogeta having to reappear once more in this fight against Broly? Or do you guys believe that the concept of Gogeta is just too far-fetched, and the way Broly might get finished off in the film is in fact by the hands of either Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, or by an outside source? I'm going to go ahead and start off with Emish in letting us know your thoughts on the concept of Gogeta in the upcoming movie.
Alright, so if this movie being released isn't any indication that anything is legitimately possible for the Dragon Ball franchise, I would say that fusion is possible, and if anything, pretty likely, mainly because there's legitimately not much else that Goku and Vegeta can do, especially if those two guys, including Frieza, are only people mentioned, and the only people expected to be able to stand a chance against Broly in Universe 7. Okay, so this is Goku and Vegeta post-tournament power. Also, Frieza post-tournament power, so we don't know what he's been up to outside of just recruiting for his army. So based on that, it's extremely likely. And Gogeta, I mean, fusion in general, whether it's Gogeta or whether it's Vegeta, doesn't matter. Fusion in and of itself is extremely likely. But now I have to, before we jump into the pros of this, before we jump into, you know, the good that fusion brings into the movie, I want to address some of the cons about it. And this is something that I think the fandom needs to be able to understand. If you're gonna walk into this movie with the preconceived notion that, yeah, we're gonna see Gogeta, yeah, we're gonna see Vegeta, yeah, we're going to see fusion, well, guess what? Yes, it's fan service, right? Now, Dragon Ball Super in and of itself, for the most part, had a lot of quote-unquote fan service-y concepts. Fan service equals revenue. This is basically what Dragon Ball Super was, right? But the difference about this movie compared to Dragon Ball Super, despite the fact that it's the first Dragon Ball Super branded movie in the franchise, they're aiming to make this movie good fan service, so not just generic fan service. So good fan service equals more revenue, because now we're getting both a sub and dub version of this. Subs based to the Japanese version in December, and then we got the dub, right, coming out in January. So you're getting 2 times the revenue, but they're trying to implement good fan service with this. And that's basically what we're expecting for this movie to be. Now, when you look at Fusion, it's a major fan service. Fusion Reborn, right. Janemba, right. Icon, Gogeta. Like, Gogeta has yet to show his face in the main storyline. And if people were to see that, they would go bananas. They would jump out of their seats. They would start throwing. They would start grabbing their Dragon Balls, like you always say, right? And they would be bracing for impact. They'll be bracing for a kick to the throat or a kick to the forehead to Broly, and then a Soul Punisher to finish off the fight. But there's one major problem with that. It's a shitty way to kill off a character. Well, that means he has to die if he gets Soul Punisher. That's one. It's like a fake Okai. And it's a shitty way to kill off a character or to defeat a character that's been hyped up for over a year by the time the movie airs. So for those of you guys saying you want to see Gogeta, hey, I'm on board too. But you gotta be expecting, you have to be willing to accept that Broly will legitimately get one-shotted. And then there might be people in the comment section, well, Emish, what if Broly is so strong that he's on Gogeta's level? Well, then Metaman is not gonna last, because if Potara didn't last with Vegeta versus Zamasu, literally like a minute and five minutes of actual real-world time, which translates to like seconds in the actual fighting sequence, you're not gonna see Gogeta for that long. So the other alternative, the other alternative to that is for Gogeta to defuse, and they have nothing left, and they have to find out a different way to defeat him.
Right.
So there's no perfect ending to this movie, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and something that needs to be told to the fandom who wants to see fusion. Guys, if you want fusion, fine, but it's not gonna last. It's either A, Broly gets one-shotted, and that's it. A character that's been hyped for over a year just instantly dies. All this hype, just seeing how cool Broly is, so on and so forth. I don't have to explain it to you guys. He's not gonna last versus Gogeta. And even if you want to say he's Gogeta level, well, then Gogeta's not gonna last. And then where do we go from there? Yeah. So it's like you're either A, gonna see Legendary Super Saiyan Broly for literally a minute or two after Gogeta fuses, seconds after that, or you're gonna see Gogeta for seconds and you're still gonna be unhappy. So it's not me criticizing the fandom, it's me trying to relay that message to the fandom. And that if they want to go into this movie with the preconceived notion of fusion being likely, they have to understand and they have to accept that one of these two scenarios will take place. The question is, will they be content with it? That's the underlying question there.
Yeah, so I think the concept of fusion is definitely pretty cool, and if it was employed in the movie, it could be a pretty good ending. However, I don't think that fusion is likely. And the reason for that is that, okay, we have two types of fusion. We have the Metaman fusion, which is a fusion dance, and then we have the Potara earrings. But in order for them to fuse into Gogeta, Vegeta has to know how to perform the fusion dance. And we know that movie 12 is not really canon to the main timeline. And in that movie, we had basically a third character intervene, which is Paikuhan, to distract Janemba to allow Goku to teach Vegeta how to fusion dance. In the movie, Frieza could be that third character and distract Broly. However, it's still unlikely. It's very hard for me to fathom that Vegeta is going to learn how to do the fusion dance and perform it. Like, we have the Saiyan Pride thing going on, and I haven't actually seen from the trailer Goku and Vegeta both fighting Broly. It almost seems like they want to take turns, like they're doing rock, paper, scissors. But if Broly obviously is a huge threat and they need to defeat him, they may have to result in fusion.
Well, I mean, the concept of fusion I don't think is irrational or outside of the realm of possibility, because if you look at it from a certain perspective, if you look at it objectively, and Goku cannot go into Ultra Instinct, then I think the only other option that these two have, if they can't beat him as singular fighters, is to combine their powers. Now, let's talk about Vegeta for a second. A lot of people would, reference Vegeta as being quote-unquote canon, and the only other fusion that was introduced within the main source of Dragon Ball, the manga and the anime. So for them to use Vegeta, I don't think is something that is optional in this movie, because number one, you have to also beg the question, how would they get the earrings, So I really doubt the Supreme Kai would even risk his life to go there to give them the earrings to begin with. So I don't see Vegeta actually happening, because by them actually having to go into that stasis, remember, Vegeta has been retconned, so even if we did see a Vegeta Blue, how long would he go in fighting Broly before he defuses, given the overwhelming power that Vegeta at that given point would have, going up against a Broly with that kind of power? So I think the only other option would be to use the Metaman fusion, and that kind of goes back to the Fusion Reborn movie with what you just said with Pikkon, because instead of having Pikkon be the one to hold off, Janemba, you have someone like Frieza that can hold off Broly while these two go on ahead and do so. I don't think that Vegeta would be against the concept of fusion, just because if Vegeta knows in his heart of hearts that just like against Zamasu, if they had no other option, then it's plausible for that to happen, and I think that they would be equal in power for a moment's notice for them to combine their powers in creating Gogeta. And I think, in terms of fan service, Toriyama and Toyotaro came out and saying that this film will be fan service, and I also believe that by having Gogeta, that could be a great way in not only introducing the character within the main source, but also seeing a really good fight between a Super Saiyan full-powered Broly, aka Berserker Broly, and a Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta. So let's say, as an example, if Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta were to be introduced, do you think that it would be logical for them to use Gogeta as a means to defeat Broly, or do you think that it's optional for them to introduce Gogeta, have Gogeta beat Broly down bad enough to where he's weakened, but then they separate and go into a different means of defeating him? Or do you believe that entirely, if Gogeta were to be introduced, he wouldn't even go as far as to last very long given their overwhelming power?
There's a lot of points I have to answer to that. So if Gogeta is introduced, it's completely reasonable for Gogeta to defeat Broly. I'm okay with that, and fan service is all good. So I mean, there's reasons for Gogeta to be introduced, but I do think that Vegito is still more likely than Gogeta. And you said that like, you know, the Supreme Kai would be too scared to just pop in, and but the thing is, like, you know, Shin, the Supreme Kai, he has the ability to basically teleport anywhere he wants. It's not the same as Goku teleporting.
Right.
He doesn't have to focus on ki. It's called Kai Kai, and he just goes in, and he's done this during the Buu saga when Buu was almost about to destroy Earth. He came in and saved Goku, Vegeta, Satan, and all those guys. So if he pops in and just gives them the 2 earrings, I mean, I think that's likely, like, you can do that. And we've seen even in the Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime, Vegito happened again. Mai got the earrings from Shin, and it happened again. And we're even seeing, like, Vegito popping up a lot. We got Super Saiyan 4 Vegito also happening in the other anime, but
right.
I'm just saying that earrings are so much easier. It's just it's just you put them on,
no,
you get them on.
Because you're actually, instead of stalling for time, you have a means of just going about it. I understand that point.
I think that that's why I rather have, like, if Goku being back to a corner from Broly and then, you know, activating Ultra Instinct, or having the choice of Potara Fusion. And it makes if you're watching this movie and you see Broly as a huge threat and Goku is being beaten down, Vegeta's being beaten down, like, there's no hope left, and then something happens, right? You want that something triggered, so that's either going to be Ultra Instinct, or it's going to be like that Potara Fusion, or it could be even something else. And you were asking me, how are they going to defeat Broly if not using either Ultra Instinct or Fusion? Well, I think you know the scar on Broly's chest, the X-shaped scar? That scar may serve as a weak spot, as if Goku were to hit Broly with all of his power in one single punch, that might actually cause Broly to be defeated in some way.
Would you rather see Gogeta or Vegito? I mean, given the fact that we've seen Vegito before, I personally, from my own subjective bias, I like Vegito more than Gogeta. But I think going into this movie, if there was ever a time for them to introduce one or the other, or at least reintroduce a character, I think it would be more than optional for them to give Gogeta a chance rather than Vegito. I'm not saying that at this given point it wouldn't be awesome to see Vegito versus Broly, but I feel like Vegito would easily at this point decimate Broly. Not saying that Gogeta can't, but I'm saying the difference in power is there between Gogeta and Vegito. Now I think that Gogeta as a concept, he's more of a very serious character, as we saw with the Fusion Reborn film, and if they want to keep that concept the same, then why wouldn't you want to watch a very serious, pissed off Gogeta fight against a very enraged Broly? And at that given point, I think that it would create a very epic battle, and I think that a lot of people, depending on how you feel about fan service, of course, would walk away saying that, wow, this was a really good film. Now again, you don't need Fusion to make this, you know, end off in a very good way. You don't need this, you don't need Fusion to tell the story in a very, you know, good kind of way. I feel like you can also incorporate different means, but by the end of it, if, let's say for example, if Gogeta were to be introduced, like, where do you see that fight going? Let's say we have a full-powered Berserker Broly fight against a Gogeta Blue. In your opinion, like, how do you think it would be very one-sided to where Gogeta would just beat him into the dirt, or do you think that, just like Zamasu in a way, do you see Broly kind of holding his own until either A, the fusion expires, or B, something happens to where Gogeta doesn't finish the job?
I completely agree with you. I would also want Gogeta instead of Vegito to appear, because we haven't seen him. If Gogeta were to appear, the fight, I think, would go on with Broly actually hitting back. you know, it won't be one-sided. It would be more like what we saw with the Zamasu saga, where Vegito and Zamasu were hitting each other back. But because, I mean, it makes sense because the animators want to make sure that, you know, the audience sees a good fight. So if they just make it one-sided, it's not going to be really a good fight. But I do think, like I said before, that scar on Broly's chest is going to be some kind of weak spot where Gogeta or whatever is going to deliver a critical blow, and that is going to end Broly. So if Gogeta is, he's only on borrowed time. He's got, like, I don't know, if Super Saiyan Blue, he's probably only got 15 minutes, so, or 10 minutes. So he's got to do that Big Bang Kamehameha, which is his final attack, and he has to do that with everything he's got. So I think as soon as they fuse, they're gonna probably pop some hits and then go straight for the finishing blow.
Now, do you think that one of the reasons why, perhaps maybe, let's say if Fusion is in the movie, do you believe that one of the reasons why we're never going to see it in a trailer is because they want to market it as a surprise? Because I can definitely see, you know, them introducing the concept of Gogeta Blue but not giving it away right away. I can see it to where they could introduce the concept as a surprise. You go into the movie, you're seeing this fight go down, and then out of the blue, you know, we see this happen. And I think for, you know, in terms of marketing purposes, it would be great because you're marketing a brand new character, I guess you could say, Gogeta Blue, and you can always incorporate that in video games, Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Dragon Ball Fighters, and etc., but also selling t-shirts and figures that I think would really go as far as to make them a lot of money, because at the end of the day, this is all for marketing. It's about making money, and Toei is about making money, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that from a marketing standpoint, would it be good? Yes. From a storytelling perspective, would it make sense? I believe so, because if Goku and Vegeta are backed into a corner, and let's say Vegeta is antagonizing Goku and saying, look, are you gonna do the Ultra Instinct thing? Are you gonna tap into it? And Goku, for him to say, no, I can't, I don't remember, or do I know how to go into it? No, I can see it to where the only other means from that given point would be for them to fuse. So do you think that from a marketing standpoint, it would be a good idea for them to do it? And by the end of it, since this would be one of the only marketable films that incorporates lots of fan service, being that this is a fan service kind of film, do you think that this is the only chance that we'll ever have to get a Gogeta? Or do you think that maybe they can save Gogeta for a different concept or a different series down the line that would make, you know, better sense?
Right, so from a marketing perspective, it definitely makes sense for Gogeta to appear. I mean, you got more action figures, more merchandise, and obviously Toei has influence on Toriyama. The reason Broly is even part of the story is because the editor influenced Toriyama to add him in because of fan service. So Gogeta would logically be there because of the marketing. However, I do disagree with the storytelling. I don't think Gogeta would be the right move for the storytelling. I do think they should have something more unique and more surprising than that. And yeah, I think that probably if they want to surprise us, they shouldn't tell us in the trailer at all. That would ruin everything.
I really do think that by the end of this, if there was ever a time for them to introduce Gogeta, this would be it, especially if we want to consider Ultra Instinct not being in the film and Goku and Vegeta not breaking their limits in achieving something new, and for them not having any other means of defeating Broly. And if they don't have the earrings intact, then the only other option I can see actually happening in this film is if Goku actually convinces Vegeta for one more fusion. Now, if we go back to the Dragon Ball Z 4D movie, even though it's irrelevant to the concept of what we're about to get in December and January, Goku needed the requirement of fusion in order to defeat Broly. Vegeta was rendered incapacitated, he was beaten down, and God Broly at that point was just too much for Goku to even handle, and thus Goku had to fuse with the audience. Now, Goku by no means is going to fuse with the audience in this film, but instead, I think similar to that concept, if Goku and Vegeta get beat down, the only other option at that point would be fusion. Now again, it's not outside of the realm of possibility for that to happen, because who in the world even thought we'd be getting Broly in 2018 to begin with? So if we're able to get Broly in 2018, then I'm pretty certain that something like Gogeta is also very viable and likely to happen in a movie like this, especially with Goku and Vegeta having their backs up against the wall. Now to me, if Gogeta were to be introduced, this fight needs to be even though I would prefer it to be one-sided in Gogeta's favor, I think Broly, just like Anti-Metaman said, ought to clap back, fight back, and being the instrument of destruction in causing Gogeta further struggle instead of having Gogeta just pull a Janemba and just completely beating him down, soul punishing him, and that's all she wrote. It would be very cliche, and I think that Broly definitely needs to present some form of struggle against Gogeta, but also I do believe that Broly, unlike traditional Super Saiyans, is going to be something very extraordinary. Now again, he is a rebooted character. He's going to be someone that is going to be the strongest enemy that Goku and Vegeta have ever faced. Not meaning in terms of an opposition, because I still stand by the idea that Broly at this point is not stronger than Jiren, but that's my own subjective bias, as I do believe that Broly would be close in terms of power. I don't see it to where Goku and Vegeta can beat him as singular fighters, even with potentially Kaioken and Super Saiyan Blue evolution. Let's say, as an example, if those two variables fail, then the only other option, if Ultra Instinct is not going to be in the film, is for Goku to somehow convince Vegeta in using fusion to take someone like this down. But by the end of it, I would like to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. How would you guys like to see Gogeta versus Broly in this film? Do you guys believe it's logical to happen in seeing something like this actually come to fruition, or is this something that will never happen in terms of an actual main story canon to where Gogeta is introduced to finish the job? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below on the possibility of fusion being introduced in this film. Thank you all so very much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys are new to the channel, punch that subscribe button. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like down below. Check out Emosh's channel. I will leave a link to his channel down below, and Anti-Metaman on Twitter. Links will be located down in the description box below. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. I think it'll be a pretty cool thing to see someone like Gogeta in this film, especially considering the fact that Gogeta could offer more substance in the film, especially if Goku and Vegeta have ran out of options. They can't hit him with their strongest move, unless of course they want to pull something out of their butts and giving us the Hakai that Goku knew from the manga as he used against Zamasu. That would be pretty wacky, but if they're not going to go with those kind of things, then the only other option I can see happening is if Goku and Vegeta combine their powers. Let us know what you all think in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys, once more, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Cue that legendary outro, bitch.